My dad died when I was 6. He wrote out a will where he left instructions of what he wanted me to have after he was gone. A keychain my grandparents bought him that he had for more than 20 years. His dog tags from his time in the military. This bracelet that he got when he became my dad. A little bobblehead toy from his brother who died in the military. A lighter that had been passed down through multiple generations of his family. And an old school pocket watch also handed down through the family. My mom remarried after my dad died. My half-sister is now 8, and my half-brother is 5. My mom decided she was going to honor my dad's wishes. I have his dog tags. But she gave my half-sister the keychain, and she wants to give my half-brother the lighter and the pocket watch. I begged Mom not to, but my half-sister has the keychain. She was so happy. I told her I didn't like that she had it, and I would like it back because it was my dad's. She ignored me and said we shared, and she was so happy I shared part of my dad with her. I told her that wasn't my choice. My mom told me I had a nasty attitude about it, and the last couple of years have been intense. My half-sister keeps showing off the keychain and talking proudly about how I shared it with her. She lost it once. I told my mom she was an evil see you next Tuesday for giving it away when it was so easily lost by my half-sister. Half-sister was really annoying last week and kept bringing up the keychain and the fact it was my dad's, and I shared it with her. I told her I didn't. She told me of course I did because she has it. I told her I never shared it with her, that I never would have shared it with her or my half-brother because they are not my dad's kids, and he would not have wanted them to have it. She told me it should be hers because we're sisters. I got so mad. I told her she was never entitled to anything my dad owned, and having that didn't mean I wanted to be her sister, and Mom was an a-hole for giving it to her. She started crying and said we're sisters, and we should share stuff like that, and I shared my dad with her. Mom was furious with me and told me to apologize. I told her to go duck herself. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole at all. Can you talk to your paternal grandparents? If it was legit in a will, then someone should get you a freaking lawyer. Not the a-hole. Steal your stuff back from your half-siblings and send all your dad things to a member of your dad's family for safekeeping until you move out. Make sure you set things up with the relative ahead of time and that they understand to keep it secret. If you can't do a family member, use a friend. If your mom or half-siblings accuse you of stealing from them, deny it and say they must have lost it again. He wrote out a will where he left instructions of what he wanted me to have after he was gone. Your mom disobeys the instructions written in a will and gives your inheritance to a not your dad related 8-year-old? I don't know how old you are, not mentioned in the post, but you should really get legal advice, not the a-hole. My parents divorced when I was little, and my dad passed away when I was 16. After he died, my siblings and I all took things from his house to remember him. I was the youngest, we are 7 in total, and didn't have the opportunity to take memory-filled furniture, but my siblings did. He also had a watch collection, and everyone took one. There was none left for me, so I asked if I could take the wedding ring my dad had kept safe. They all said yes because it was one of the only things I could take. Afterwards, my mom gave me her old wedding ring, so that I have them both. I used both of them to put on a necklace that I wear. I could remove them from the necklace if I wanted to. Now my sister asked me if she could have them because she wants to get married. I said no, and now she and one of my brothers are calling me selfish. I don't actually plan on using them for marriage, but I wanted them as a memory. My mom and other siblings agree with me, but my sister and one brother say it's useless for me to keep it as a necklace. Am I being selfish? Edit. 1. The reason why I couldn't get any furniture wasn't because they took everything without considering me. It was because at that time, 16, I was still living with my mom in a small apartment, and there was no space to put anything. My older siblings all had their own places and had space for them. 2. I doubt she wants them for money reasons. She has a good job, and the watch she took is worth far more than the rings I have. I think it's more about her just wanting them. Not sure what exactly she would do with them because I doubt her husband-to-be wants my mom's name on his ring. She would have to melt them down and make new ones. 3. A comment she made during our argument. You were so young when they divorced. I was 6. Why would you even need a memory of their marriage? You can barely remember them being married. I told her that was one reason I wanted them, but she called me selfish and idiotic. Second edit. 1. I don't really want to trade it with something she took. I've been wearing them on the necklace for almost 8 years now, and I've become even more attached to it. I usually don't take it off except I want to wear a fancier necklace for certain occasions or outfits. 2. I had made a comment on how I don't understand why she wants to use the rings for getting married, and she said it's because she has good memories of their marriage, despite them getting divorced. To be frank, my parents ended things as friends, so we don't really have bad memories about that time. I didn't tell her that I still don't really understand it, or kind of believe it, because I knew she would tell me it's because I don't remember much to begin with. 3. Just for clarification, the ring isn't the only thing I have from my dad. I have a few small items: scarf, 2 books, a nice pen he always used, and the mug he always drank coffee from. But none of my siblings were interested in them. They associated other things with him, so back then, we didn't really have much argument about who gets what. We actually never had any arguments, between all 7 of us, since we are adults. And this is the first time something like this happened. Dramatically clasp the ring to your chest and declare, "The ring is mine." Then push one of them into a volcano. That should resolve any further debate. Not the a-hole. So what memento would sister give you to replace the rings? Nothing? That's what I thought. She just wants to save some money by using the most convenient rings that aren't attached to anyone's fingers. Not the a-hole. Your sister picked over all your dad's things and gave you the leftovers, which happened to be your dad's rings. Now they want those too? Honestly, they can F right off. I can't sleep and I need outside perspective. I'm 28 male. My ex-wife Nadine is 39 female. Our daughter Cassie is 19 female. My wife Alina, 36 female, is due with our child, due any day now. This is her first pregnancy, and her mother is here to help us and be present for the birth. Even so, Alina is mildly stressed and uncomfortable, just waiting for our baby to arrive. She has anxiety regarding hospitals and is anxious about the thought of my not being there with her. Trouble is, just over an hour ago, Nadine called from the emergency room. Cassie is undergoing an emergency appendectomy, still in the operating room as I type, and is expected to be in the hospital for at least a few days. Nadine has her mother with her for support, and when I spoke with Nadine's mother, she asked me when I was flying in. Delicately, I explained that I couldn't leave my wife when our baby is to arrive at any moment. When my ex-mother-in-law began all but shrieking and calling me the heartless Mexican devil, charming, I know, she then threatened to cut me off from updates about Cassie. Luckily, Nadine wrestled her phone out of ex-mother-in-law's hand and promised to call me back. But before we could speak again, my ex-mother-in-law and one of my ex-sister-in-laws began bombarding me with messages and voicemails, calling me a horrible father for choosing an unborn baby over my daughter during an emergency. Nadine is even more stressed, trying to damage control, and while I know that she understands that I can't come right now, she outright told that there's no way she would even let me think to leave my wife right now. I feel guilty her support is gone because of her mother and crazy sister. I just know that I will wake up with a full inbox because of my ex-in-laws. Alina is still asleep, and I don't want to wake her and stress her more right now. I haven't posted here before, so I thought I would give it a shot. Am I the a-hole? Almost forgot. I'm in a different state than Cassie and Nadine. My apologies. Not the a-hole. Appendectomies are routine procedures, so unless your daughter has some underlying risks, she should sail through and be in the hospital recovering for no more than a day or 2 before discharge. You want to be there. Nadine knows you wish you could be there, and your daughter will know that you are thinking of her, because you're going to send a huge flower bouquet to her room with a note. In the meantime, you have to be there when your child is born. You only get one shot at that, and if you aren't there, it will be long remembered. Let Alina sleep. Call your daughter tomorrow and send the flowers. Rest easy, Papa. Not the a-hole. Her mom and grandmother are both there already. Many hospitals are still limiting numbers of visitors, and you can't risk flying out of state when you could miss your child's birth. Just make sure to check in on Cassie whenever possible. Nadine sounds like a good mom if she's got your back against the evil mother-in-law. Not the a-hole. Generally speaking, appendectomies are ultra safe. Unless you have any reasons to believe Cassie may be in actual danger, then there was no need for you to leave your wife. Births are really important, and Alina has made it known she wants you there. Your ex-in-laws have no right to behave the way they did, and their opinion doesn't really matter. What matters is you being there for your pregnant wife about to pop. Granted, if she wasn't this close to giving birth, or if Cassie was about to die, then yeah, flying to her would be the right thing. But that isn't the case, so... She outright told that there's no way she would even let me think of leaving my wife right now. She seems sweet, and it sounds like you are both mature enough to realize this. Don't let your ex-in-laws influence you. I don't even know how they expected you to fly out of the state in such short notice. Also, communicate with Olena and tell her what's going on. I'd also recommend talking with Cassie and seeing how she feels, since she is the one mainly affected by this absence, not Nadine's mother. I, 24 female, have always wanted to call my baby Hope, after my great-grandma who passed when I was younger. She was the sweetest woman, and I've always said I'd name my first daughter after her in her memory. Well, as it turns out, my boyfriend has a younger sister called Hope. She's 26 and doesn't really have the best relationship with her brother. They speak on occasions, but just each get on with their own lives, so we hardly have contact with her, besides at family gatherings. I told my boyfriend I planned on using the name for our daughter way before we even found out I was pregnant. He agreed and was fine with it. However, when we found out we were expecting a baby girl, he said we should at least tell his sister that's the name we have chosen. I agreed, and we arranged to go out for lunch together. There I told her about how I've always wanted to use her name, and the baby wouldn't be named after her as such, but they would share a name as it is important to me. His sister was not happy about it, and said she didn't like the idea of her niece sharing the same name as her, and asked us please not to use it. I explained I wasn't really asking permission. I was more informing her of our choice. She wasn't very happy about it, but this was months ago, and my boyfriend and I assumed she would be over it by now. Anyway, 2 weeks ago when my daughter was born, boyfriend posted in his family group chat a photo of her and her name, Hope. His sister called me and first said congratulations, but she didn't understand why we used that name when she specifically asked us not to. I said that it's going on her birth certificate if she likes it or not, as she couldn't even give me a reason not to use her name, whereas I could write her reasons why I wanted to. She called my boyfriend and I a-holes and said this will only impact her relationship with her brother even more. But honestly, I don't see what's wrong with using the name. Am I the a-hole? I told her about how I've always wanted to use her name. You don't want to use her name. You want to use that name. She doesn't own it, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole, but perhaps there could be some kind of compromise position in order to avoid confusion by naming your child Hope. Nice name, by the way. You can encourage the rest of the family to start calling your sister-in-law Hopeless. Not the a-hole, but I wonder, when you told your sister-in-law that the baby wasn't being named after her, but the name is important to you, did you actually tell her that it was your great-grandmother's name, and you have long since wished to name your baby Hope? Because, while you shouldn't need to justify your name choice, since you've said your sister-in-law didn't understand why you'd used that name after she'd asked you not to, it sounds like there's possibly a breakdown in communication here. I thought my engagement party was going to be the perfect night. My fiancé and I had spent months planning it, and we were excited to celebrate with our closest friends and family. But things took a turn for the worse when my sister-in-law showed up. At first, she seemed perfectly pleasant. She congratulated us and even gave us a gift. But as the night wore on, she started drinking more and more. Eventually, she was slurring her words and stumbling around the room. I tried to ignore it and enjoy the party, but then she started making inappropriate comments. She told me odd remarks like I was just okay for her brother, or just underexciting comments about me. My fiancé tried to intervene, but she just laughed it off and kept drinking. Finally, she made a scene that couldn't be ignored. She stumbled over to the cake table and knocked it over, sending cake and frosting flying everywhere. My guests were horrified, and I felt like crawling under a rock and hiding. My family was so quiet, and I felt so awful at such a wonderful day. After that night, I knew that I couldn't invite her to my wedding. I didn't want to risk her ruining my special day. But now, my in-laws are furious with me. Her family is saying that I'm being unfair and that I need to forgive her, but I don't know if I can. They are saying she just drank too much, and the alcohol was talking, not her. Am I the a-hole for not inviting my sister-in-law to my wedding after she made a scene at my engagement party? If sister-in-law apologizes in person, none of this text or over-the-phone options, agrees to not drink at the wedding under the promise that she will be removed from the event, maybe she could come. But the fact that she hasn't apologized and others are making excuses for her, 1, shows me this isn't the first time, and 2, she's not sorry. So no, either way, Let her attend or not, you are not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Her family is a bunch of enablers. Even while drunk, you are still responsible for your actions. If you cannot accept that responsibility, then you know not to drink at all. Not the a-hole. Alcohol can't talk. It's the person. It will always be the person, and I'm so incredibly tired of people using alcohol as an excuse.